What's the one thing men truly crave during oral pleasure? Here's the truth. It's not what you think. It's not about some wild trick or a secret move you saw in a magazine. It's not even about being the best he's ever had. What he actually wants is to feel something deeper than just physical stimulation. Because for a man, pleasure isn't just physical, it's psychological, it's emotional. It's about how you make him feel about himself in your presence. When a woman makes a man feel completely desired, admired, and chosen, that's when he melts. That's when he remembers. The best oral sex tip isn't about technique. It's about energy, the energy of confidence, the energy of anticipation, the energy of a woman who isn't trying to perform, but to connect. Most people rush into the act. They skip the build-up, the teasing, the laughter, the slow burn that makes his skin ache for your touch. But that's where the real magic is, because when you know how to build tension before you ever begin, you create an experience that's unforgettable. So today, I'm not going to give you a list of mechanical steps. I'm going to reveal 5 psychological keys that unlock real intimacy and pleasure. Because when you understand how a man's mind works, you'll realize that the most powerful thing you can use in the bedroom isn't your mouth, it's your mind. If there's one truth about attraction that people often overlook, it's this: anticipation is the heartbeat of desire. The moments before something happens are often more intoxicating than the act itself. Why? Because our brains are wired to crave what we almost have. It's that electric space between wanting and getting that creates obsession. Think about the way a movie slowly builds tension before a kiss. The glances, the pauses, the almost touches, that's what makes the kiss unforgettable. The same principle applies to intimacy. When you rush into pleasure, you rob the moment of its story. But when you slow down, when you let him feel that rising current of almost, you turn something ordinary into something cinematic. Anticipation begins long before your lips meet his skin. It starts with presence, the way you look at him, the way you let silence breathe. A simple touch on his arm, a playful smile that lingers just a little too long, a whisper that barely grazes his ear. Those small moments make him lean in without even realizing it. You're not chasing the moment, you're letting it unfold naturally, letting him feel the gravity between you build. Men are highly visual, yes, but they're also deeply sensory. When you slow things down, you heighten every sense: sight, sound, touch, even breath. The warmth of your presence, the softness of your tone, the tempo of your movements. All of it creates a rhythm he can't resist. You're not giving everything away at once. You're leading him there, one heartbeat at a time. The art of anticipation is really the art of control without force. It's about knowing that the power lies not in doing more, but in doing less with intention. When you pause, when you pull back slightly instead of giving in too quickly, you awaken a powerful instinct inside him. You make him chase the moment. You make him want to earn it. And here's where the psychology gets fascinating. Anticipation activates the same reward centers in the brain as pleasure itself. That means he's already experiencing deep satisfaction before anything even happens. You're essentially teaching his body to feel more by doing less. But there's a second layer to this emotional anticipation. It's not just about physical touch. It's about the emotional energy you bring. When you look at him like he's the only man in the room, when your body language says, "I want you," without a single word, you create safety and excitement at the same time. He doesn't just feel desired, he feels chosen. That combination of desire and reassurance is what drives him wild. Because for men, confidence in a partner's desire is intoxicating. When he senses that you're not performing, but enjoying every moment for you as well, it shifts the balance. It becomes mutual exploration instead of expectation. So practice the pause, use eye contact as foreplay, let your voice drop when you speak. Touch him like you have nowhere else to be. Every second you spend building that tension adds layers to the connection you're creating. Because here's the truth, once you master anticipation, every touch afterward carries 10 times the impact. You're not just creating physical pleasure, you're orchestrating emotional memory. Long after the moment ends, he'll replay it in his mind, remembering not the act itself, but how you made him feel before it began. That's the secret. Real pleasure lives in the waiting. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to intimacy is believing that being a great lover means putting on a great show. They think it's about being impressive, perfect rhythm, flawless moves, a kind of movie scene performance that screams confidence. But the truth is, the most unforgettable moments don't come from performance, they come from presence. Presence is the quiet power of being fully in the moment, not thinking, not analyzing, not trying to be anything other than completely connected. It's about shifting your focus away from how do I look, or hey, am I doing this right, to how do we feel right now together. When you're present, something magnetic happens. You stop being self-conscious and start being sensually aware. You notice his breathing, the subtle movement of his body, the sound of his heartbeat under your hands. You start to sync with him without effort. And in that moment, it's no longer about doing, it's about being. See, men can sense when you're performing, when you're trying too hard to impress. There's tension in your body, a kind of emotional distance that keeps him from feeling fully safe. But when you relax, when you allow yourself to feel instead of perform, it creates authenticity, and authenticity is the most attractive energy on the planet. Presence is what transforms physical pleasure into emotional connection. Because when you're fully there, you're not just touching his body, you're touching his mind. You're saying, without words, I see you. I'm here. I'm not somewhere else in my head. That message creates a level of intimacy that technique alone could never achieve. Here's something most people don't realize. When you're thinking about how you're doing, your brain actually disconnects from your body. You lose rhythm, flow, and sensitivity. But when you drop into presence, when you focus on the sensations, the sounds, the feeling of skin against skin, you activate your intuition. You stop second guessing yourself, and suddenly everything you do becomes natural, fluid, and right. Presence also gives you permission to receive pleasure too, because connection isn't one-sided, it's a dance. When you allow yourself to enjoy the moment, to express your own pleasure through touch, sound, and energy, you invite him into that same vulnerability. You stop being the performer and you become the partner. The beauty of presence is that it makes every gesture matter. A simple breath, a gentle pause, the warmth of your hand resting on his chest, those tiny, genuine actions can be more erotic than any elaborate trick. Why? Because they're real, they're felt. When a man senses your presence, he stops worrying about being good enough. He stops thinking and starts feeling. You bring him into that same flow, a shared rhythm where both of you lose track of time. And that's when the connection becomes unforgettable. It's ironic. The less you try to impress him, the more deeply you do. Because true confidence isn't about trying harder. It's about trusting that who you are as you are is enough. So forget the script, let go of the pressure to perform, instead breathe, feel, listen, move with intention, not expectation. Be curious about his reactions. Notice what happens when you slow down, when you touch him with presence instead of performance. That's when everything changes, because he's not going to remember a move you did perfectly. He's going to remember the moment you lost yourself with him. That's the magic of presence. It turns ordinary touch into a shared heartbeat. If anticipation is what builds desire and presence is what deepens connection, then confidence is what seals the experience. It's the invisible energy that wraps the entire moment in allure, because confidence isn't just sexy, it's contagious. When a woman embodies confidence in intimacy, something shifts in the entire dynamic. She no longer seeks approval. She's not worried about how she looks, sounds, or compares. She's grounded in the quiet certainty that she is enough. That energy alone can make a man weak in the knees, not because of what she's doing, but because of how she owns herself. Confidence doesn't mean being loud or overly assertive. It's not about putting on an act of dominance or control. True confidence is grace under desire. It's the ability to be completely present in your sensuality, unapologetic, unhurried, and completely aware of your power. And here's what most people don't realize: confidence has a sound, a rhythm, a feeling. It's in the steadiness of your breathing, the calmness of your hands, the unbroken eye contact that says, I'm not afraid of this connection. When a man feels that, it instantly relaxes him. It tells him he's safe to let go. Because believe it or not, men get nervous too. They question if they're doing it right, if they're enough, if they're pleasing you. But when he sees you confident, not performing, but owning the moment, it disarms every insecurity he has. You're giving him permission to drop his guard. Think about it. Confidence turns a simple act into a form of communication. Your body speaks louder than words. The way you move, the way you breathe, the way you stay calm instead of rushing, all of it tells him that you are in control of yourself and your energy. That's what makes it intoxicating. Confidence also shows up in how you handle vulnerability. Intimacy is raw. It exposes us, our bodies, our emotions, our insecurities. But when you can be open without fear, When you embrace your imperfections as part of your allure, that's when confidence shines brightest. Men are drawn to women who don't need validation to feel sexy. A confident woman doesn't wait to be told she's desirable. She already knows it. She brings that energy into the room like warmth, like light. And in doing so, she creates an atmosphere where everything feels effortless, natural, and deeply intimate. It's also worth noting that confidence is amplified through intention. When you touch him with certainty, when you move deliberately instead of hesitantly, he feels that strength. He feels your energy leading, not following. And that creates polarity, that magnetic push and pull that ignites chemistry. But here's the secret. Confidence isn't something you put on. It's something you cultivate. It grows when you start trusting your intuition instead of doubting it. When you stop chasing perfect and start embracing authentic. Confidence whispers, "I belong here." It tells your partner, "You're lucky to be here with me." Not from arrogance, but from genuine self-worth. When you carry that energy, everything you do becomes more magnetic. Every touch, every look, every breath. It's not about proving anything. It's about expressing everything. So the next time you're in that moment, remember, confidence isn't about how much you do. It's about how deeply you own the moment. Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can wear isn't lingerie or lipstick. It's the quiet, radiant confidence that says, "I know who I am and I'm not afraid to let you feel it." That's the real aphrodisiac. Not perfection, but presence wrapped in certainty. Great lovers aren't mind readers, they're communicators. But here's the secret: communication in intimacy doesn't always come through words. It comes through response, through breath, touch, movement, sound, and energy. The way you react tells your partner everything he needs to know. And when you master that subtle language, you unlock connection at its deepest level. Most people think feedback means giving verbal directions. Do this, don't do that. But true feedback is much more organic. It's not about control, it's about connection. It's a silent rhythm that develops when you start listening, not just with your ears, but with your body. Men crave this kind of feedback because it gives them clarity and confidence. They want to know that what they're doing is landing, that it's affecting you, that you're right there with them. When you respond, even slightly, you're giving him the reassurance that he's creating pleasure, not guessing at it. Something powerful happens when you allow your body to be expressive. A deeper breath, a soft sound, the way you tilt your head or move closer. These small signals tell him more than 1,000 words could. You're not instructing, you're inviting. And that invitation draws him in even more. But feedback goes both ways. When you're tuned into his reactions, the way his muscles tense, how his breathing changes, how he unconsciously moves toward you, you start to sense what he enjoys without asking. That's when you shift from performance to partnership. You're no longer doing something to him, you're doing something with him. And here's the real psychology behind it. Feedback creates attunement. In neuroscience, attunement is the process of syncing two nervous systems together. It's what makes people feel safe, seen, and connected. When you mirror and respond to each other's signals, your bodies actually release oxytocin, the bonding hormone that deepens trust. That's why communication during intimacy isn't just sexy. It's essential. It tells both of you, "I'm listening, I'm here, you matter." You can also use feedback to guide without ever breaking the flow. A gentle hand movement, a whispered encouragement, a simple shift in position. Those cues keep the energy alive while helping him tune into what you love. It's a dance of mutual awareness where both partners become students of each other. And here's the beauty of it: the more feedback you share, the more confidence grows on both sides. He learns to read your signals better. You learn to trust your expression more. And together you build a feedback loop of pleasure and trust. But there's something deeper still. When you offer feedback, you're not just communicating what feels good. You're communicating that you're comfortable enough to be honest. That vulnerability, that openness turns physical intimacy into emotional safety. It tells him, "You can be real with me. You don't have to guess. You don't have to perform." That level of openness is what keeps passion alive long after the initial spark fades. Because the truth is, people stop connecting not because they stop loving, but because they stop communicating. So be expressive, breathe louder, let your reactions speak for you. Listen to his cues, respond to his energy, and allow the moment to become a conversation instead of a routine. The power of feedback is that it turns intimacy into dialogue, two people speaking through energy instead of words. And when that dialogue flows, pleasure stops being something you chase and becomes something you share. Because in the end, the best lovers aren't the ones who know every move. They're the ones who know how to listen. Here's the thing most people miss about men. Physical satisfaction isn't what truly keeps them coming back. Emotional admiration does. A man can feel physically fulfilled and still feel emotionally empty. But when he feels admired, when he feels seen not just for his body, but for his essence, something awakens in him. He connects, he softens. He opens up in ways that even he doesn't fully understand. Men are rarely told they're desirable. They're told to be strong, capable providers, but not often wanted. And that's why admiration is such a powerful force. It reaches into a man's core, into the part of him that quietly wonders, am I enough? When you admire him, when you express genuine appreciation for who he is, his energy, his masculinity, his presence, you feed something deeper than desire. You validate his being, not just his performance. And that's what creates emotional addiction, the kind that lingers long after the night is over. Admiration doesn't have to be loud. It can be a whisper, a look, a subtle compliment that feels real. It's when you tell him, I love the way you touch me, or you make me feel safe, or even, I love the way you look at me right before you kiss me. It's simple, but it hits deep because you're not praising his actions. You're acknowledging his impact. You're saying, what you do matters to me. And for a man, that's oxygen. There's a huge difference between satisfying a man and elevating him. Satisfaction happens in the moment. It's fleeting. But admiration builds something lasting. It makes him associate intimacy with emotional connection, not just release. He begins to crave you not because of what you do, but because of how you make him feel about himself. Psychologically, this taps into a man's core need for significance. Every man wants to feel capable, powerful, and desired by the woman he desires. When you reflect those qualities back to him, you become the mirror that amplifies his confidence. He doesn't just feel turned on, he feels valued. But here's the magic part: admiration isn't about flattery. It has to come from genuine energy. Forced praise feels hollow, authentic appreciation feels magnetic. It's the difference between you're amazing and you have no idea how much I love the way you take your time. One is generic, the other is intimate. When you pair admiration with sensual energy, you create emotional polarity, that powerful blend of softness and appreciation that makes him feel both strong and safe with you. You're showing him that he can surrender his guard and still be respected, still be the man in your eyes. And that's what men crave most, to feel powerful and desired simultaneously. When you admire him, you also create a safe space for vulnerability, because admiration isn't submission, it's acknowledgement. It says, I see your strength and I appreciate it. And when a man feels that, he gives back more. Emotionally, physically, mentally, he wants to reciprocate that feeling tenfold. So the next time you find yourself in an intimate moment, don't just focus on satisfaction, focus on connection. Use your words, your tone, your body language to communicate appreciation. Look at him like you're genuinely fascinated, because admiration isn't just what you say. It's how you look at someone when you mean it. In the end, satisfaction feeds the body. Admiration feeds the soul. And when a man feels both in your presence, he won't just remember the moment, he'll remember you. Because pleasure may fade, but the memory of feeling truly admired never does. So let's bring it all together. The best oral sex tip isn't a secret move, a hidden technique, or something you can learn from a headline. It's about the energy you bring, the psychology behind the connection. When you master anticipation, you build tension that makes every touch electric. When you cultivate presence, you turn an act into an experience. When you radiate confidence, you make him surrender to the moment. When you give feedback, you create a rhythm that feels deeply personal. And when you express admiration, you give him something no one else can, the feeling of being truly seen and valued. These aren't just tips about pleasure, they're lessons about connection. Because real intimacy isn't about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's not about doing more, it's about feeling more. When you combine emotional awareness with sensual intelligence, you stop being someone who just knows what to do. You become someone who knows how to make another person feel alive. And that's rare, that's magnetic, that's unforgettable. So the next time you're in that moment, remember, it's not about the act, it's about the energy you bring into it. Make him feel desired, make him feel admired, but above all, make him feel connected, because that's what he truly wants, not just satisfaction, but a woman who understands the language of his soul. If you found this message powerful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more real, heart-centered conversations about love, intimacy, and connection. And remember, the best pleasure always starts in the mind.